Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trail Pass. So, in front of me, as you very well may know, is my Can-Am Outlander 570 Max XT, and I was super excited to finally track down one of these machines and to get one. Now, I know a lot of you all have seen our overview of these and our trail rides and that sort of thing, and you might be thinking you really haven't ridden this thing as much as you talk about. And there's one major problem for that. I actually have had a little bit of a hiccup with this machine. Shortly after I got it, after we went on the first trail ride with my buddy Grant on his CF Moto, the issue started right up here. So it was actually with my speedometer. I would start the machine, I would ride it around, and everything would act completely normally, whether I was riding in high or riding in low. And it seemed like after the machine would heat up and I would get maybe, I don't know, 5-10 miles down the trail, my speedometer would just go completely to zero. Now, it wouldn't completely turn off, the bike would still run, and it didn't even throw a check engine light, but the speedometer would go to zero while I was riding. So, 1 second I would look down, I might be going 15-20 miles an hour, and then it would read 0 miles per hour. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, this isn't too big of a deal, it's just your speedometer, you don't really need to look at that anyhow. But with this machine being a Max XT, the XT meaning it has a lot of the features that you could option from the factory, and it also has power steering. Now, Can-Am's power steering, the DPS, is speed sensitive, meaning it does kind of change weights as you go up in speed. So it might add more assist as you're going slowly. It might add less assist as you start going fast, and then you can change the assist level to 3 different modes there with the DPS button. But the problem with that is when you lose your speedometer, you lose your power steering as well. So it doesn't know how much to assist when it thinks the bike is sitting still, and basically it just turns your power steering completely off. Now, I did some reading on this, and it wasn't the power steering motor, which is what I was really concerned with. You know, these are electric power steering. They do have a separate power steering motor. They're in the steering column. I'm sure you can't really see it, but it is somewhere up here underneath the gauge cluster. But it wasn't that, which I was really helpful, and it wasn't anything with the gauge cluster itself, which I was also really thankful for. I found out all of this information on the Can-Am Outlander forums, which actually are really good for these machines. I'm kind of new, I guess, to the Outlander world, so I was really pleased coming from a Tacoma and hearing all of the great forum posts and everything on there. The Outlander is pretty helpful as well there online. Now, what most people said is it's actually the speed sensor in your transmission, which again is all covered up there with plastic, but it is somewhere down in this region. And my machine was under warranty, so I did take it to the dealer and told them I thought something was up with my speed sensor. And they actually found out that it was an intermediate harness that hooks to the speed sensor, and they put in that intermediate harness, and supposedly everything worked out. So I was a little bit nervous taking this thing to the dealer. Since it didn't act up every time right off the bat, you had to ride it a little bit before it would fix itself, or before it would show up, I mean. I was a little bit nervous that the dealer wouldn't be able to replicate that. And they actually called me and said, hey, we've ridden this thing around a little bit, but we're not going to waste any more time. We found out that it is this intermediate harness, and it is somewhat of a common issue on these things. So what they basically did is where the wiring harness comes down and hooks to my speed sensor, they disconnected that, added that intermediate harness, and plugged it all back in. So basically they added a little bit of a pigtail there, and so far that has seemed to fix my issue. Now, all of this was covered completely under warranty, and it was done through Blue Ridge Power Sports in Harrisonburg, Virginia. So a huge shout out to those guys. They treated my machine well. Couldn't ask for much more. But that is why you haven't seen this thing much in action. Going on any kind of long trail rides or anything like that, I bought this machine specifically with power steering. I sought that out because it is really important to me. It takes a lot of that jarring and all that kind of thing from the trails, takes that out of the equation and makes it much more comfortable to ride. Now, again, this machine was rideable. It never left me stranded. It never even threw a check engine light, but it definitely was something up with this thing, and definitely glad to have it fixed under warranty. So if you do have a 2020 Outlander with power steering, it sounds like this is somewhat of a common issue. I'll throw this up on here one more time. It is the intermediate harness. Right there is a look at the part number. and that fixed it for me at least. So I would definitely start there. I'm not sure that these are recalled. I haven't seen anything about that, but it sounds like it is a known issue. And as soon as they looked it up there at the dealership, they were familiar with it. Now, looking around this machine, you might see something else new. I actually got this box. So this is normally where the rear seat goes on the Max models. And actually, when I went to pick this thing up the very first time, my four-wheeler that is, I saw one of those boxes and thought, man, that's awesome. You know, when I'm riding by myself, this would add some pretty good extra storage. It just pops open there. And this all connects with the link system. You can see the dial right here. You can just unlock it, and then it should just pop right out of here. And you can take that with you. So whether you want to pack your lunch, pack some tools in there. Funny enough, this is actually the third box that I ordered. The first two looked exactly the same, but did not fit my Can-Am. That little link system down there was moved one way or the other, or just didn't exactly line up. Now it does line up. So I'll throw the part number down there in the description of this video. This part number is only for the 2020 and newer machines. I guess they changed the rear seat here and how that all hooks in. But I actually ordered, like I said, what looked to be exactly the same part, at least from the top, but it did not fit. So there are several part numbers for this. Make sure you have the correct part number when you order one for the year of your machine. So I'm not sure what years I ordered when I ordered the first two boxes, but definitely glad to have this work out. Like you can see, it just snaps right in there. It does have a weather seal, and it fits on the machine really nicely. And I'm very appreciative to have that extra storage when I don't have my wife as a passenger. So overall, really happy with how everything turned out. Now, it did take me a couple weeks to get in to the dealership. It took them a few days to get that sub harness there. And overall, everything is ready to go. So I know a lot of y'all have been asking for a review of this machine. I should get that up very shortly now that everything is working. I didn't want to do a review with a machine that wasn't working exactly right, and now we should have all of that under control. So thank you all very much for watching. Have a fantastic week, everybody. Hey, if this video helped you out, leave that down in the comments and consider subscribing. We really do appreciate all of that. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you next time.